Hello, everyone. I hope you've all had wonderful days. Let's head right into Collectively Rewilding. All right, here we are. And I thought for tonight we'd pull up everyone's report. And Miss Vanessa, I'm guessing that you're still not quite in a place where you're doing anything with that.
No, no, not right now. Now we just went and looked at a house today, so now I don't know for sure what we're doing because first we were gonna. His job ends the 27th. He gets laid off. We were gonna go back to Texas, but then now I don't know. So it's still up in the air.
All right, well, we're here for you. Okay, so let's see where everybody is with their report. Tammy actually, no, Kendaz was here before everybody, but he just couldn't quite get in for a minute. Okay, so you already have this portion of yours filled out, but not this portion. Now let's check Miss Tammy's. She has this portion, but not this portion. I think only Benny has this portion filled out. And so I was thinking about this all, right? And Miss Vanessa, you weren't there with us, but we were in the staff meeting for LH2, and I mentioned that with this garden report, like with the grant world, we really need to hold people's hands to get them moved forward with these reports. And I think that you guys would agree, right? You don't really feel either you don't have time, interest, or comfort, one of the three, or some combination therein, in filling these out yourselves, right? I'd been putting the days up and nobody was really participating. So would you guys agree with that assessment relatively well?
I think I'm more of afraid to touch it because I think I'm gonna mess it up.
Well, with the garden challenge, you would just be putting your comments underneath the post. So, right? So I feel like everybody is more comfortable. That's the whole thing. This Tammy is getting pretty far with her garden, but she's still just haphazard about it. She's like, I just throw a bunch of seeds out there and then this is what it ends up like, right? And so I don't think that this is anybody's strong set of skills yet. And so I feel like you guys feel more comfortable working with someone to get the answers for those challenges. Would you agree?
Mhm.
Yeah, right? And so I'm thinking, okay, how can I do this and make it realistic? And so in the end, when we have a lot of people doing this, it's going to come down to them having to do some of their answers on their own, right? And I just don't know how to help people move through that, right? And so that's something we should all just kind of be thinking about. Um, those of us that are on the board, especially if we want to think about, engagement and things like that. How do we help people? It's the same thing in LH2. How do we help people to feel more comfortable doing some of the steps on their own? And I feel like with this one, you guys are at that place where you don't really feel comfortable taking the steps on your own. So I feel like you guys have a lot of powerful insight into that moment right now. And then we can then apply it to both communities, right? And so
Do it.
something just to kind of think about. Go ahead, please.
I was about to say we could do it like step by step. Like you could show us how you do yours and like make a stopping point for everybody to do theirs.
That's a good idea. Just walking that one step through and then the one weekly checklist, right? That's a good idea. Okay. So let's take this stuff and put it into your graphs below. What does this chart mean when you're considering your chart here or your calendar looking table here? And to do that the most effectively, we'll pull Tammy's report up again. And, and I'm going to be looking at these answers to fill in this chart, right? So this is kind of, and let's just do this, that'll make my life so much more simple. Okay. It's not ideal, but it is helpful. All right. So here we have the precipitation and the highs and lows for temperature for every month of Tammy's year. And we have the season labeled. So these are both cool seasons. These are also cool. You have, it looks like a total of 7 months with some cool to them. So you could really, really get, and in fact, this one is even slightly cool, interestingly enough. Right? Because you're getting up to 83, but you're still down to 51. And we do now have our chart, but let me just pull up a new tab to show you that. And we'll just kind of reference it when needed. We have our little highs and lows. Oh, I didn't used to do this. Okay, that's fine. If I wanted another one, I would have done it a different way, huh? Silly to have to go through. Did it pull up another one for me? No, it did not. Why did it do that? Wait, that's not what I meant to do. That's why I did that. I put the wrong thing. Okay, so let's pull that down and get another Google Chrome. No, that's what I think I did. Okay, you must have to push a different one. I don't go this way very often. Let's do this. New window. Okay, so new Google Chrome is if I wanted to pull up a new browser, and we don't need to. We're just going in here, and then we're going to look for thinkers, I think. Even averages is what we're looking for. And so we can just reference this when we need to. And so you're warm, you know, you were getting up into 85, but you were still down in the 50s in the cool for a couple of your months. And let's do this, and we'll make this really small so that when we want to pull it up, we can kind of look at it, right? And so you have this halfway point where you go through all of your months except for July, August, and September have some element of cool. You don't ever hit cold, but with some protection, you could push it a little bit into, let me move it there, into April, definitely, and maybe the beginning of May a little bit with cool weather vegetables. And then you can have your warm weather vegetables from the end of April, perhaps, into the beginning of July. Then you do hit hot, but you stay a little cooler at night, right? Like the Vegas desert. You can get really hot in the day and get quite cold at night comparatively. And so that's the temperature that you experience the most. So if you ever wanted to have something like eggplants, which you have enough heat in the day, they would need some protection at night because it drops down lower. Because you see here, you're hot, you need to be at more than 85 degrees. So you have these 3 months where, yes, you could do hot, but then you're going to dip so low at night that they might be a little bit too cold. So you have this very specific set of circumstances, right? So your cool weather really starts in October. So you're going to start here. And this, well, yes, in beginning of October. And then let me actually pull up Benny's report where we have it complete so that I can double check and make sure I'm doing it in the correct way. So he's the only one with his fully filled out. Okay, so it's ones and twos. Okay, that is really helpful. Back to small. More will be over here. Okay, so, whoa, that's not what I wanted. What happened? I clicked the wrong button. Okay. Here in October, you are going to be wanting to finish off one, and I'll look for the wording and see if we need to correct this. Finalize, that's a better word. Finalize warm and or hot weather plants. Okay. Now two, start cool weather seedlings. All right, so that's your October. Okay, now November, December, January, February, and into March are all going to be similar to that. So you're starting your cool weather seasoning, your seedlings here. So in November, you want to be transplanting and sowing right into the ground, right? Sowing, that's the difference. You're either putting a transplanted plant into the ground or you're putting seeds into the ground for sowing. Transplanting and sowing cool weather crops. Okay, your second thing is going to be that you could start another round of the ones that you want to do as transplants because you can just keep going through this whole period. You have a bigger property. You could literally keep things coming up every week. So for an example, I'm going to do some things like broccoli and cabbage in my cool weather planting. And I will use more than one head of broccoli or more than one head of cabbage. So I need to start mine tonight. I think they've finally absorbed enough water from the bottom. And so this evening, I'm going to put all of my intended transplants into their soil medium in their little jiffy pots, right? I'm trying the jiffy pot, see if I like that idea. I'm going to slice into the jiffy pots. I will never leave it whole. I don't think that that's a good idea. I think that you should really make a lot of access out of those jiffy pots. But I think that it's a really nice way to handle it all if they work. So it's kind of a test period. I've never used them before, and we'll see what I think of these jiffy pots. But the soil is ready. And so I will start one round now. And then of those things that I know I'm going to want more of, I'll either wait a week or 2 weeks, probably more like 2 weeks, and then plant another succession so that I can put that in as the others are finishing up. All right. And so where you have such an extremely long cool weather season, you can just have every other week have a lettuce come up, and every other week in between that have a cabbage come up, and then every third week have a broccoli or a cauliflower. And you could just do that in succession, however much you would eat of those fruits and vegetables. Does that make sense? Perhaps her dogs are being loud, or perhaps she is completely overwhelmed. I'm not certain, but we will continue on here. Okay, so transplanting and sowing cool weather crops,
Brittany, you're
starting.
talking to me, right?
Yes.
I thought you were talking to Candace the whole time.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah, but I'm following you though.
Okay. Yeah. Kendez, I switched from his report to your report, and I'm not really sure why, but that's where we ended up. Yeah. So starting any additional cool weather plants desired. All right. Then in December, it's going to be the same thing. Oh, but we don't want it to say 3 and 4. Okay. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, so can we do this? Yes. It's gonna do weird formatting on me. Okay, well, I don't want to have to type it every time, so that's what we're gonna do. All right, let's do this. Whoa, it doesn't do the same thing. Why doesn't it work? Really weird. Okay, I must have clicked the wrong thing. Now we can do what I wanted to do. Okay, so there, we're going to go 1. And so now it's correct. 2. Okay. January will be the same. Okay. And then March is where things are going to start changing. So actually in February, this is where you're going to want start warm weather.
Yeah, we have like 6 weeks of extra winter from what the groundhog said.
Oh, thank
So there's
goodness,
six,
because we're finally getting a little bit of moisture. Hopefully that'll
yeah.
continue. Okay, so start warm weather seedlings.
What
And
did
so,
Fox
go ahead, Kendra.
say? What did the fox say?
Hmm,
I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down.
I'm
I
seeing
don't know.
hot. Yeah, it's a hot fox there too. Huh? Okay, so then you're going to be transplanting and sowing warm weather plants in late March or early April. Okay. Oh, actually, let's do this. Finishing, finalizing, I think it's what we said, finalizing cool weather plants. I like to think it's finite. You don't know why. All right. Now for April, we're not sure if you were able to transplant, right? So we'll still say transplanting and sowing warm weather crops, right? Now, if you were able to, you might be, how does she put it? I think this is like a maintain warm weather. Hmm. Now you have warm all the way up through June with a little bit of cool. And then in July, it is going to get to hot. Okay, so May is going to be, oh, yeah, maintain, that is what I want. Maintain, maintain warm weather. Harvest, warm weather crops. And here, we need to add that. So you start it here, transplanting, starting, and no, wait, this is here, maintain weather. And harvest cool weather crop. Okay. This is going to be also here, harvest cool weather crop. Did I get that right down here? Cool. Yes. Okay. And we'll interchange with those words there. Yeah. And then you're finalizing and you're sowing and transplanting, continuing that sowing and transplanting, maybe maintaining, and then you're going to go into maintaining and harvesting the warm weather crops. And we can copy that. we get to July. And in July, it's going to start getting hot. So actually, we need to go back to June, and this is where we are going to start hot weather season. Okay.
Like like sunflowers and stuff like that.
Yes, I do believe that that is in the hot weather crops like eggplants.
Because I want some mammoth dill. I want my whole yard of like sunflowers, or at least around my
Be
fence and everything.
aware that they're going to drop a lot of seeds and they can become a real problem. They draw a lot of wasps and hornets and things like that, which is great up to a point. And they're also really prickly as a plant. They're not nice to touch. So just be aware. They are great to have, but you might not want to go too crazy on them so that you can control them a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I put them along my fence where
Yep.
like the critters.
Perfect. 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 Okay. So now in July, you are going to be one, finalizing warm weather crops. You're going to be transplanting and sowing hot weather.
Probably like watermelon and like cantaloupe and shit like that. Excuse my language. Stuff like that.
I'm still
Like,
a little blasé on this hot weather. I had always really pictured them as being a part of the traditional summer vegetables and not really looked at it as needing this 85-degree plus. So I haven't grown a tremendous amount of eggplant though. I've grown a little bit of eggplant. I haven't really had much success with watermelons. I have tried watermelons and tried watermelons and tried watermelons. So I
I
can't
had
speak to that.
one. I grew one in Boron. It was one of those baby watermelons, the green ones. Yeah, I've grown
Mm-hmm.
one
And you got
successfully.
one. So I think that they're probably a little bit tetchy, and it might be that they were in too cool of a period to properly do what they wanted, right? So
They're
I don't
baby
know.
ones. They
This
were
is something
baby
we're gonna
watermelons.
work through together. What's that?
Oh, they were baby watermelons, like the little ones.
Oh,
They're
but you had
small.
more than one?
Yeah, I
Oh,
had
okay,
like
great.
yeah, I had a couple, but there was like one big one that I took a picture of, and my dad
Hmm.
and I did that. So it was pretty cool, and it tastes really good. But like it was in the desert and really
Yeah,
hot weather during the
yeah,
summer. So
it's hard, right? It's definitely hard in the desert. However, we're gonna work through this system and see what we think. And so your hot weather plants should be going into your garden in July, but already as good sized transplants, right? All right. And so then, because you started them in June, so now you're finalizing the warm and transplanting the hot, and then you're going to go into August, and one is going to be maintain warm or hot weather plants. And then two, start warm weather plants. Okay, because then you're going to go into September and it's going to be warm again. So if you have it and you put it out, you can get another round of warm weather crops that you want to get them in as early as it's cool enough. And they'll probably need a little bit of protection, okay, at the end to continue providing the fruit. Okay, then we're going to come into September. And this is when you're actually going to finalize, well, this is finalize the hot weather plant. Okay, so start warm weather plant, maintain hot weather plant, harvest from the hot weather plant. So harvest is kind of, you don't do a lot of maintenance. You're going to harvest and then that's going to be finishing it up. So that is one being harvest hot weather plant, transplant, and so let's see, transplanting is network so much better of warm weather crop And then you're going to come in here, and it is finalize the, not really finalize the worms. This is going to be finalize the hot plants, harvest the warm weather crop, start cool weather seedlings. Wait, this is maintain. I apologize. Maintain warm weather crops, start cool weather seedlings. Now, your first task here will be finalize warm weather plants. Then you're transplanting and sowing cool weather plants, starting any additional you want, and you go back and start the year over again. So looking at it like that, does that give you a good idea of how you might work with your process in order to have more consistent success with what you choose?
Yes, I like the how you have your seasons and the temperatures. That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool to like kind of like a reference back to them, like on each
Mm-hmm.
page like that. That's pretty cool.
Yep. And so that's actually the first page. And then you go into this, but you guys can also pull it up like this as well, where you can look at both things at once, right? Or print them out and look at one in a printing and one on the screen, or both of them printed out. And each of these, you want to watch your weather, because this is an estimate that fits generally every year, but will never perfectly fit probably any year, right? And so you really want to watch your weather. And so this is what yours looks like. And then I need to come in and I think do some work to really follow through on the pattern here, and then maybe do a little bit of modification to Benny's report as well. But let's jump into Kendez's and do the same thing here. Okay, so we'll go pull our report up here. Over now, maybe just a little bit more to make it more visually appealing. There we go. Okay, now we're doing the same basic thing. So you have another really long cool season. You start in October and go through April. It's more distinct, and you do have a slightly cold period. So at this point, when we reference our season averages, right? 35 to 65. So you're walking that line where you might need to protect those plants on some of your coldest nights. Not by a lot, but a little, right there in the middle. And just throw a protective sleeve over them. But I don't think that you'd have to do a tremendous amount of that. And then yours follows the same basic pattern that Tammy's did, but you don't fully, you barely hit the hot, right? In comparison. So you have a period that actually needs to say to lightly hot. Copy this little guy. Okay, right there. And so you go from the end of June into September, but again, some of those plants may need a little protection if you dip much lower, right? You're walking a little bit of a line.
Mm.
And then you have another period where you can do warm, and you'll have at least 2 periods that you can do cool. So it's going to be relatively comparable. So your cool weather, though, you want to start the seeds in October, but your temperatures look quite a bit different than Tammy's, although it's the same outline. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we want to start cool weather plant seedling. There we go. Okay, and then I'll work forward. We'll come back in and we'll add the previous part. All right, come over here to November. And so this is going to be from plant, the cool weather month. And we're going to be finishing things up, but I kind of had to go back and forth. So I think it's better to work with one season forward, and then we'll come through and finalize as we go forward. So thank you. This will become more second nature to me, but it is still a little bit in depth, we'll say, no matter how comfortable one gets with it. You really are playing with the weather on paper, knowing the variations that can happen. And so it is a little bit tricky, right? And so now we're going to be maintaining cool weather socks. And again, with what Tammy has, you can start, put it on hers. Let me jump over here really quickly. Starting any additional, let's say start, I think it's cool weather. And that's only if you're like me and you just want to have vegetables just coming in all the time. These are only things you can choose to do. Don't feel required to do them. But if you want to have these things happen, this is the order that you'll want to put them in, right? Okay, so we'll go back over here. Now, that is start second round. Cool weather. Maintain and then plant second round. Start third round. We'll just minimize how much needs to be set for it. Okay, and so then here, you're going to be harvesting.
What? I'm supposed to be harvesting?
In fact, that will be earlier a bit too because they're quicker than your summer plants. You would start harvesting, minting, and harvest. Let's say that. Now, to ask your question again, Kendaz, I'm not sure if I answered it.
Oh, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be harvesting in January?
Yes, your cool weather crops, you can start harvesting quite possibly in December because lettuces, remember, are leaves, roots, fruits, right? Leaves take the least amount of time, the least amount of sunlight, etc., right?
Mhm.
And start final round, we'll see here for cool weather. Okay, now in February, you will be harvesting and maintaining. So your warm period starts at the end of April. So in March, you will be finalized cool weather plans, start warm weather seedlings. Oh, we're gonna do that. I forgot. Okay. Then in April, your warm weather hits. And so let's just say we'll continue to harvest here actually. Harvest, and then you're finalizing your cool weather plan. Finalize cool weather transplant and sow warm weather. And your hot starts at the end of June. So finalize, transplant, and sow. Here in May, 1 is going to be maintain warm weather top. 2, hold on. I think that's primarily what you'll be doing there. Is your cool finalized? You're at the beginning of your warm. You may still be getting a little bit of your cool weather crops, but the warm weather crops take longer. So that's where you might have wanted to introduce some of the Mizuna or the warmer weather lettuces so that you could still be handling some harvesting here.
Mm-hmm.
Harvest warm weather greens. All right. And so then in June, you're going to harvest and maintain warm weather crops. And July is where you start going to hot, or no, June, at the end of June when you start going to crops. So, and end of May is when you need to start hot weather season. And in June, end of June, transplant and sow warm weather plants. Okay. In July, you want to be finalizing warm weather crops, and you may still be transplanting and sowing or just starting, or maintain hot weather plants. Okay, walking that line there. Now, at the same time, you start to cool off a little in July, but really a little more towards August. And still September could be slightly hot. So somewhere in there, we're going to say in August that you want to start your warm weather plants again if you would like to have another round of warm weather plants. All right. So here you have harvest and maintain. It's really going to be maintain. Maintain hot weather. Hot weather plants. And start second round warm weather. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, that's where we are there. Then in September, you want to harvest and finalize hot weather crop transplant and sow second round warm weather. All right, so then this is going to be maintain, shelter, and harvest second round warm weather. Start cool weather crop. Nova, and you'll probably be finalizing, but definitely by here, finalize last warm weather and transplant cool weather plants. Start second round. Okay, so I think with both of those, I think I need to go in just when I'm by myself and make sure that I got it right. Compare them to all three and really look at it. But I think that this is pretty well what you guys are looking at. So right now, where we are for you, Candes, in February, you could have been harvesting and maintaining a third round cool weather crop, or transplanting and sowing and or transplanting and sowing. So you can still sow some radishes or some carrots or something like that. The lettuces that you don't transplant, that you just sow directly into the soil, you can still do that and harvest your cool weather plants starting in March and finalize those up in April. And then next month, you'll want to start your warm weather seedling.
Okay. How do I keep the birds away? Because I put some in the ground, but it's looking like some activities, some pecking activities are going around.
Put a netting over it. Um, you can also, well, that won't work. You don't really get the snow thaw cycles. So, yeah, netting is really your best bet to keep the birds off of it while it seeds until it's established itself a little bit so that it's still getting that sun, but they don't have the ability to get in there and eat your seeds.
Okay.
And so does that give you a clear picture of what your month's like? Yes, you'll be able to do a little bit, but then really next month you can fully start, right? You're going to start those warm weather seedlings next month.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What Candes can do, Sabrina, what
Uh-huh.
Candes can do, like, like you can get like, you know, the thing that you wash out your spaghetti, a strainer, like a big one. Okay, like I did yesterday. I didn't even think about it until I actually really did it. I put it on top of it, and it's like a metal one. It's like a blue one that I have that I use in the garden, to, you know, sift my, you know, my mulch. And I didn't even think about, you know, they have these things on Amazon. They're like cage covers that you can cover your plant. For example, like the bird situation, it's like a little cage thingy that you put over your plant. So like insects or bugs, or they can't go in them.
You do
And
have to
there's
be
like little
careful with the
holes and
insects
stuff.
and the bugs, though, because if there's already insects and bugs in it, you don't want to
Yeah.
trap them in it with that, whether it's the gauze
Well,
or
there's
the
little holes. There are holes. There are holes, you know,
right. No, but
that you guys
that's
can.
just the way that it works, right? If you already have the bugs
Yeah.
in it, you can't do it. You have to start over almost with fresh soil to
Yeah.
start using gauze to affect the insects. Birds are different, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I've started to spread more mulch around in my little shaded area in preparation for my
Nice.
green garden.
Very good, very good. And then for you, Miss Tammy, right now, you can already start your warm weather seedlings. You need to
I'm
be
getting
done.
ready.
Yep, you need to be done with your cool, right? So they should be finishing up in the beginning of next month, and then you're going to be sowing those warm weather, transplanting and sowing the warm weather crops.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. Just getting that soil ready, that bed, and then the other ones that I have, and you know, germinating some. hot ones and you know, process stuff.
I do, absolutely. And so that's where you guys are. So I'm just now starting my first round of cool weather. Kenda's could be on what, your third, I think it was. Yep, you could be on your third going into your final fourth, where you still can have this one, right? You can plant them into the ground directly, or you can buy transplants. Especially in your area, they won't struggle as bad as they do out here in the desert area for Tammy and I. So if you wanted to have the bigger cool weather crops, like in broccoli or cauliflower, you could buy transplants or sow your final round of seeds and then start your warm weather next season. And Tammy should already be starting her warm weather right now. And I'm just starting my first round of cool weather for the year. So big variances, right? Even where Tammy does get so warm, it's so different for where you get so warm, Ken does, right? Such a broad difference in how everything lays out for each of us. A lot of fun. So I'll finish those up, make sure I've got them all accurate, and I'll post them for you in the community again, just so you have the fresh link and go right to the updated reports for you guys.
Where are you gonna post it at?
I'll post it in the Plan Your Wild workshop.
Oh, nice.
Yep, and I'll notify you so you'll be able to go right to it anyway. And my computer is not liking life right now. I do not know what's going on.
Yeah.
Very frustrating like that.
Blame it on AI. I'm kidding.
Yes. Oh,
Perhaps they use so much energy from the servers, right? They use so many resources, electricity and server capacity and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'll place it right there in the Plan Your Wild workshop. And so let's jump into our calendar. And we will be together tomorrow for a Let's Quit Together. Hope you guys are all doing good with that. And that will be at 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 3:30 p.m. Mountain, 4:30 p.m. Central, and 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
hmm.
All right, guys. Benny and Candace, definitely come in on Thursday so that we can start doing that for you guys as reports as well. All right. And I think for yours, Candace, oh, Benny's is already done. Candace, I think we need to fill out your first little chart on the very first page of your garden report. We have your highs and lows and your precipitation in your garden challenge, but we need to transfer those to your chart on the first page there.
Okay.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you guys. Please feel free to unmute and say good evening.
Good evening, everybody. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.
Peace.